Heavy rains have hit the Gaza Strip and knocked down hundreds of tents that house thousands of Palestinian refugees. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro denounced the plans of Leopoldo López, a fugitive from Venezuelan justice system, to attack the country from the state of Zulia in a plot with the former president of Colombia, Álvaro Uribe. And in Haiti, the government extended the curfew due to the increase of violence in the country's capital. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. Local media in Palestine on Tuesday highlighted that the heavy rains that have hit the Gaza Strip knocked down hundreds of tents that house thousands of Palestinian refugees. In this sense, Palestinian authorities confirmed that due to the weather conditions, thousands of people spent the night outdoors under the intense cold and heavy rainfall, including minors, women, elderly people, and patients. Precisely in the midst of the cold wave in the region, refugees asked international organizations to allow them to enter the shelters, even though they are currently overcrowded. At the same time, several United Nations agencies continue to warn about the increase of hunger and the humanitarian crisis in the coastal enclave caused by the Israeli aggression and the blockade. And in this context, Israel continues to pound Gaza as climate conditions aggravate even more the situation of those displaced throughout the Strip. Our correspondent in the ground, Noor Harassine, with the details.
A new rainy storm hit the Gaza Strip, and this only means that more struggle, more suffering will be added to the suffering of those displaced people around Gaza, as most of those displaced people are living in tents that are made of plastic and some clothes, which is not enough to protect them from the cold of winter or the rain. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, and in the attack on the Al-Shifa hospital, when the Israeli forces stormed into the Al-Shifa hospital, the Israeli forces killed more than 20 Palestinians and arrested more than 200. Until this moment, while we are talking, the Al-Shifa hospital is now a closed Israeli military base. Ismail al-Ghul, who was a TV journalist working for the Al Jazeera, said that the Israeli forces arrested all journalists from inside the Al-Shifa hospital, forced them to remove their clothes and handcuffed them, and started investigating every single one of them before releasing them. Also, he talked about how the front yard of the Al-Shifa hospital was filled with bodies of people that were killed in the Israeli raid on the Al-Shifa hospital. Also talking about some of the highlights of the Israeli attacks on Gaza overnight. In one strike on West Rafah, 12 Palestinians were killed. Half of them are children and women. At the same time, Israeli forces continue attacking middle Gaza's camps like the Al Bureij refugee camp, Al-Nusayrat, and also they are carrying attacks in northern Gaza. Noor Harassine, TeleSUR, Gaza.
The Lebanese government called on the international community to increase efforts to provide necessary humanitarian aid to Palestinian refugees and displaced people in the midst of the persistent shelling by the Israeli regime. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates emphasized the need to support the United Nations Relief and Work Agency for Palestine Refugees, the UNRWA, so that it can give continuity to its humanitarian mission. The ministry had recalled earlier that the work of the UNRWA offers hope for the survival of the Palestinian people. The United Nations organization warned that more than 570,000 Gazans are vulnerable due to the crisis and lack of food and medical supplies after 6 months of Israeli bombardments. And the United Nations organization endorsed a report that warns that more than 70% of the population in northern Gaza face a catastrophic hunger. The document highlights that the hunger in the region has worsened and expanded, with 79% more Gazans likely to see their situation worsen to a catastrophic level and 92% more expected to do so by mid-July. The United Nations Assistant Director General for Food and Agriculture, Beth Bechtold, warned that if steps are not taken to cease hostilities and provide greater humanitarian access in Gaza, famine will be imminent. More than 20,000 citizens demonstrated in Santiago de Chile in solidarity with Palestine and in rejection of the illegal actions perpetrated by the Israeli regime against its population. Several families, representatives of political and social organizations, and citizens sensitized to what is happening in the Middle East walked from the Gabriela Mistral Cultural Center to the Badejón de los Héroes, passing in front of the Palacio de la Moneda, the government house. The demonstrators condemned the violation of international law by Israel in the Palestinian territories. They also demanded a ceasefire and expressed their support for the decision of the president, Gabriel Boric, to reject the participation of Israeli armed companies in the next edition of the International Air and Space Exhibition. In this context, also hundreds of people lied on the ground at a pro-Palestinian Stop the Genocide protest by the sea in the Basque city of San Sebastián in Spain. Over the past weeks, several demonstrators have been held in the country calling for an arms embargo and sanctions against the Israeli regime. Protesters also demanded the Spanish government to do more to stop attacks on Palestinian civilians and to allow the entry of humanitarian aid to the coastal enclave. The mass protest comes after Israeli Prime Minister confirmed a ground invasion against Gaza. We now move on to other topics. The vote count of the Russian presidential election reached 100% and confirmed that the candidate for re-election, Vladimir Putin, won with 87.28% of the votes. In this way, with a historic turnout of 77.44%, President Putin was re-elected for a fifth term. According to the Central Electoral Commission, the second most voted candidate was Nikolai Kharitonov of the Communist Party of the Russian Federation, followed by the New People Party of Vladislav Dankov. Meanwhile, in fourth place was the party of the ultra-nationalists led by Leonid Slutsky. After learning about the electoral body's reports, the Russian president thanked his people for their trust and renewed his commitment to, quote-unquote, make Russia a strong state.
I would like first of all to thank the citizens of Russia. We are all one team of all Russian citizens who went to the polling station and voted. And of course, today, in the condition in which we live, a special word of thanks to our soldiers, to the guys who, on the battle line, provide the country with the conditions for its development and assistance.
Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the South. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro denounced the plans of Leopoldo López, a fugitive from the Venezuelan justice system, in a plot with former President of Colombia, Álvaro Uribe, to attack the country from the state of Zulia. The Venezuelan head of state warned that this is a conspiracy. Therefore, he warned the national armed forces to remain on maximum alert with the intelligence and counterintelligence agencies. Likewise, he reiterated his call for peace and its defense, affirming that the terrorists will not be able to disturb the elections to be held next July 28th. During a broadcast on his show, Con Maduro Más, he affirmed that he has information about plans that are being prepared to attack the neighboring states of Zulia, Táchira, among others, with paramilitary terrorists. In this sense, President Maduro urged Colombia to remain alert to destabilization and sabotage attempts in both nations. The government of Haiti extended the curfew due to the increase of violence in the country's capital. The authorities declared the extension of the ruling until Wednesday, March 20th. The measure will not affect public service providers, medical personnel, and duly identified media. With this resolution, the government seeks to restore order and to control the violence unleashed in the metropolitan area of Port-au-Prince. The authorities recalled that within the framework of a state of emergency in force until April 3rd, any type of demonstrations on public roads are forbidden. In Cuba, peaceful protests took place in the province of Santiago de Cuba over long hours of power outages and lack of supplies. The government authorities of Santiago dialogued directly with the protesters. President Miguel Díaz-Canel went over this situation on his X account. The president stated that several people have expressed inconformity with the situation of the electrical service and food distribution, a context that the enemies of the revolution are trying to take advantage of for destabilizing purposes. Díaz-Canel warned that in the last hours, terrorists based in the United States have been encouraging actions against the internal order of the country, and in this sense, he assured that from his government, they seek to attend to the demands of the citizens to improve the situation, and in the midst of the blockade, continue working in peace to get out of this problem. Cuba will continue to work from peace to solve the current situation. President Miguel Díaz-Canel affirmed that the needs of the citizens in the face of Washington's blockade will be met. The executive is committed to dialogue and denounced the sectors that are once again trying to destabilize the country. And the Government of Reconciliation and National Unity United Nicaragua triumphs sent a message to the President of the Republic of Cuba, high officials of the country, and the Cuban people in view of the recent demonstrations provoked by the difficult situation that the island is going through due to the unjust U.S. blockade. The President of Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega, in his statement in solidarity support to the Cuban people, stated that they sent to every family, every home, to the quarters of the party, to Raúl, Miguel, and to all the leadership of the party of government and its glorious revolutionary vanguard, our strong and solidary embrace as always. President Ortega further emphasized his absolute confidence that the Cuban people will be able to overcome adversity, stating that they trust that with the strength of this great people and the God of all trumps, the history of honorable bravery in the face of the immemorial daring of the imperialists on earth will continue to shine, writing new pages of the exemplary transcendence of the challenges imposed, showing once again the unbreakable spirit of Fidel, Raúl, Miguel, and the invincible Cuban Revolution. With peace as a permanent banner, Cuba will continue to win amidst the respect, admiration, and the affection of the peoples of the world. We will win. Also in the context, the member states of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, People's Trade, Alba TCP, issued on Monday an official statement supporting the Cuban government and its people in the face of the new aggression by the enemies of the Cuban Revolution. In the statement, the Alba TCP member nations firmly reject the destabilization attempts against the Republic of Cuba and reaffirm their firm solidarity with the Cuban people and government, express their support for its legitimate denunciation against enemy campaigns, as well as their recognition of its tireless efforts to overcome all the difficulties resulting from the brutal and illegal economic, commercial, and financial blockade imposed by the government of the United States of America. The statement reiterated that Cuba is an example of resilience, work, and resistance for all Latin America and the Caribbean, and its authorities have and will have all the willingness to face and improve the conditions that this worthy nation has been subjected to for years as a result of the hatred and contempt of the enemies of the Cuban Revolution. And now we move on to other topics. In Mexico, several political leaders and progressive social organizations denounced in protest outside the Spanish embassy the existence of a plot from abroad to affect the outcome of the electoral process. Spanish extreme right-wing political organizations such as Vox are trying to discredit the government of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador and promote a negative vision of the country. These aggressions are rejected by the Mexican people. For this reason, several organizations expressed their dissatisfaction to the delegations of the Spanish embassy in Mexico.
We feel that we have seen people who belong to the Spanish government have made certain comments regarding to the politics and life of the Mexican people. We come here today just to make a political pronouncement regarding to what is happening in our lives. This is against the people who want to take advantage of this electoral issue in Mexico, to take advantage of it for their own benefits. It is not against the Spanish people, nor their culture or their people. It is against the people who are unfortunately looking to take advantage of all the interests that driven politics and the right wing.
We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and also share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Nigeria, authorities reported that gunmen abducted 87 people on the night of March 17th in Kajuru district, northwestern Kaduna state. In a separate attack on March 16, kidnappers abducted 16 people in a nearby village, bringing the toll to over 100 people kidnapped in just 2 days in the same area. This comes after hundreds of students were kidnapped in a school in the same region on last Tuesday. Criminal gangs often carry out mass kidnappings in northern Nigeria, targeting schools, villages, and highways where they can quickly snatch a large number of people for ransom payments. We move on to other topic. Iceland's Meteorological Office reported a decrease in the volcanic activity on the Reykjanes Peninsula. After reporting a new eruptive crack in the volcano on Saturday, the office informed that the magma movements continued to evolve, although they are losing intensity. However, authorities warned that the cracks in the mountains are 3 kilometers long and the magma intensity is reported to be low. The security forces of Iceland have activated a state of emergency in the Reykjanes Peninsula due to this volcanic activity. And a new mural by street artist Bansky has appeared on North London Street. The artwork, painted on the side of a building which has a cut-back tree in front of it, uses green paint to mimic foliage and also features a stencil of a person holding a hose. It reportedly surfaced on Sunday on Horsley Road in the Finsbury Park area on North London. Islington North MP and former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn joined a crowd of others on Monday to look at the mural. Corbyn noted the importance of the work and its environmental message, but said it may not last due to the poor condition of the paint covering the building, which the artwork rests upon.
It makes people stop and think, hang on, we live in one world, we live in one environment, it is vulnerable, it is on the cusp of serious damage being done to it. I think it makes people think, and environmental politics is about densely populated urban areas like this, just as much as it is about farmland and woodland and hedges.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.